Update. I told my ex-husband my concerns about his girlfriend. Original post. My ex-husband and I are in our early 40s and late 30s and have been divorced for almost 3 years now. While he did not want to get divorced, we separated and have been co-parenting our 2 preteens amicably. He lives within 5 blocks from our old home, and while we have 50-50 custody, our kids freely bounce between our places and choose how they want to spend holidays. We've tried hard to create a sense of stability despite the change in our family situation, and have standing tune-up therapy twice a year to make sure we're all comfortable with the arrangements. His recent partner, Maria, 29 female, has been the only one to make past the 6-month mark, and prior to this encounter, I would say that she makes him happy and is a pretty reasonable lady. She also has a very sweet and precocious 9-year-old son that we all adore, and generally I thought things were going well. I invited Maria to bring her son to my place if she would like him to join my kids in private language classes. She accepted, and this has been going on for a few weeks now and my kids adore him. Then last week, she said something to me that was surprising. She asked me when I would be moving my things out, so that my ex and her could be able to cohabitate. I was taken aback and confused, asking her to clarify my current home. This home? And she nonchalantly told me, you don't need all the space for 3 people. We wouldn't have space at X's current condo. Her son looked so awful and embarrassed at this point that I was like, this conversation would need to include my ex. My kids and I live in a brownstone that my ex and I purchased together 50-50, but that I have been renovating since before the divorce. My ex lives in a nice condo that's spacious, but is still a little bit of a man cave. Later in the evening, I got a text message from her son that was pleading for me to forgive his mom, that he is sorry for his mom, and to not tell my ex. I feel awful, but I think I should let my ex know this conversation occurred, and let him handle it. Would I be the a-hole if I told my ex-husband my concerns about his girlfriend? Edit. I'm the single owner of the house. My ex insisted throughout the divorce that I keep it. We do co-own his condo though. Haha. Now for the top comments before reading the update. Why would you be co-owner of his condo? And why did you laugh after saying that? This whole thing does not add up. Ex may not be able to qualify to refinance the condo in just his name. OP was probably laughing because girlfriend thinks ex owns both homes, and girlfriend can throw OP out at her whim, when this is not the case. Before our divorce, we owned both properties outright. Our divorce was very amicable, and he insisted I keep the brownstone. After the divorce, I had my lawyer help me transfer the brownstone deed and my ex signed the documents. He just never did that with the condo. I asked him a few times, and the answer has always been hand-wavy. I'm his ex-wife, so I'm not going to continue nagging him on something he's dragging his feet on. Not the a-hole. Your ex-husband should be the one having that conversation, so you absolutely need to share this with him. Weird that the 9-year-old has a better emotional gauge than his mom though. He's a special kid in the best way, very mature and advanced for his age. I was very mature for my age, and it stemmed from trauma, as did my understanding of situations, both social and emotional, that should have been outside of my scope. I'm not saying that this kid is definitely traumatized, just that I've never met a former gifted kid that wasn't in some way. You would not be the a-hole, and I'm alarmed that a 9-year-old is already conditioned to apologize for his mother's behavior. I suspect girlfriend used her son's phone to manipulate the situation. I doubt this, because the girlfriend wasn't embarrassed at all. It was the son who reacted like this. I think this is just a very smart little kid with a high EQ, who has had to navigate the world with a parent who isn't nearly as savvy. Not the a-hole. It sounds like this needs to be discussed, not necessarily because of her, but because it's obviously come up in their discussions. If you are divorced and still have shared property, I think that's what this says, then you will need to sort that out sooner than later. She wouldn't really be the issue. The ownership of the property is the issue, and it sounds like he's thinking about that if she brought it up. The thing is, I don't think it's been discussed between them at all. I think she may have just assumed. When we separated, he insisted that I keep the house, and that I didn't need to buy him out. The house belonging to me is ironclad. I just got nervous and blurted out that we discuss it because her son was there. And now for the update. First off, some people ask why I laughed haha at the end of my edit that I owned half his condo. It was mainly out of uncomfortable irony. X is extremely driven and brilliant in his career, but disorganized in life. As for the update, I procrastinated bringing up what Maria said and basically told myself, assume best intention/awkward curiosity. My thought process was that it's my home, and she'll have to cart me out here on the back of a hearse. I admit I was also nervous about raining on his happiness and did not want to be perceived as a bitter ex. The kids had a grand time at camp, and a month or so ago later, we had family dinner with both sets of grandparents. My ex brought Maria, and it started out great. Everyone welcomed Maria and her son. Maria was helping me finish up dessert in the kitchen, and I was patting myself on the back for the goop-level blended family dynamic when she made an off-the-cuff comment about how she'd host parties here. Ex came in with the kids, overheard and asked, "Oh, did Low Stakes offer for you to host?" Maria's son just burst into tears and started apologizing. It was genuinely one of the most awkward experiences of my life. Long story short, the entire family has learned that ex had a vasectomy after divorce and is not looking to remarry anytime soon. Afterwards, I talked to him about the previous interaction, along with showing him the text messages, and now they're no longer together. I am worried about Maria's son, although I recognize it's not my place. Unsure what I can do there. Poor Opie and ex. Jesus. I cannot imagine what was going through the girlfriend's head. She thought she'd be the new wife, and he'd move his new family into the bigger place. So bizarre, as it doesn't even sound like younger new girlfriend at Opie's ex-hubby even had any conversations about cohabitating at all. Never mind cohabitate where. Head scratching at girlfriend's assumptions. The reaction from her kid being so immediate and so extreme makes me think that it's a pattern. Honestly, it made me suspect it had been discussed between them, and the ex-husband had said no, and that's why Maria tried to go behind his back and the kid was so upset by it. But even without that, the kid's reaction is hugely telling of something. I feel so bad for the kid. Feels like he was settling into an environment/schedule where he got to do new stuff and see good people on a regular basis. Opie described her children loving him, and now it's all going to get taken away again? Not to mention, I feel like it can be a warning sign when very young children are described as being super mature and understanding for their age. I was that way growing up, but only because of emotional mistreatment/neglect and parentification by the adults in my life. In the long term, it actually stunts you emotionally because you're stuck constantly trying to read the moods of other people and accommodating for what they want. You learn to ignore your own needs and never get to explore who you are as a person in one of the most important developmental phases of your life. Anyone get the sense Maria was looking to hit the jackpot? Also, it stands out to me that her son is so mature according to Opie. Kids grow up fast when they have an irresponsible parent. He was apologizing like she was his child acting a fool. Yes, unfortunately, kids do grow up fast when they have irresponsible parents. I personally know this for a fact. I feel for the little boy. Also, unfortunately, the ability to be mature for your age and having to parent your own parents does not translate you into a mature, functional adult. Most of the time, a young kid's maturity is complex trauma, molding them into still, quiet, vigilant people who know best when not to do anything. Knowing how to avoid triggering your emotionally immature parents does not make you a good romantic partner, say, or help you understand your own feelings to decide what you want. I'm not saying this to dump on a kid, but to empathize. I was also a bright, mature kid. What that actually meant was I sat still at school. Think my adult life had been fulfilling due to this great ability? Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling the mother of my boyfriend's son to run an upgrade on her parenting style? My boyfriend 32 male and I 35 female have been together for 1 year. I haven't got any kids. He has got a 4-year-old son who lives with his mom, my boyfriend's ex. My boyfriend fetches his son every weekend, and he has recently introduced me to his son. We get along really well. He's sweet and very talkative. I have helped raise my nieces and nephews, so I think that I am good with kids. I don't believe in hitting kids. We talk things through, and this has been my approach with my boyfriend's son too. He is always up to something, taking things apart or pressing buttons, but that's because he's curious. I always speak to him calmly and have started explaining things to him. So now, he asks me questions like, "What does this do? What is this?" And we explore things together, so less things being broken. I recently received a call from the mother of my boyfriend's son, asking me to stop using all these new age phrases on her child. She said that my funny things are interfering with her parenting style. Apparently, the boy said, "Don't shout, mommy. Speak soft like auntie." He also said, "Okay, take a deep breath, mommy," whenever she would raise her voice at him. At first, I told her that I wasn't trying to interfere with her parenting style, but that is how I deal with children. But she told me to go make my own kids and then teach them stuff. That hurt me, and I told her that maybe her parenting style needs an update. Now she refuses to let the child be around me, and she is starting to refuse my boyfriend access to his son too because of my interference. My friend thinks that I shouldn't have told her that her parenting needs an update and let my boyfriend handle this instead. And now I feel terrible. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She's being ridiculous. Assuming that there's an actual visitation agreement, she cannot unilaterally just do that. X is being pissy. This is a type that will allow a child to be destroyed just to get back at the ex, for whatever reason. Of course, she is probably demonstrating all the reasons she is an ex as well. My parents divorced when I was 1 and used me to hurt each other my entire life. Can confirm that none of this behavior is going to be good for the child. I was 5, and my mom tried to use my little sister and I to hurt my dad, and essentially extort him to pay an absurd amount of money. Joke's on her though, I moved in with my dad full-time at 11 and became an attorney, because I was so angry at what she had done. Not the a-hole OP. X is being super petty, and your parenting style sounds like mine. My son is 3. He is an intelligent and curious little person trying to figure out the world. Patience is a must with small children, and you sound like a wonderful friend/stepmom. Sounds like the 4-year-old is more mature than his mother, and she doesn't like being reminded of the fact by the kid when she loses her temper. Your boyfriend needs to go to court and get a proper custody arrangement in place, because his ex just deciding he doesn't get to see his son anymore, ain't it? Not the a-hole. That would be a fun one. Mother declaring that the father can't see his kid anymore because his girlfriend doesn't scream to it. Can you imagine telling the judge you want to change things because the new girlfriend is speaking to your child respectfully and, gasp, explains things to them? That kind of curiosity should be cultivated. Opie just found a non-destructive way to do it, and it sounds like he loves it. Sounds like he also appreciates not being screamed at for something. I mean, he's freaking 4 years old. Mistakes are gonna happen, and yelling or spanking doesn't teach him anything, except maybe that it's okay to yell and hit when you're mad. Most judges would laugh at the ex. Last story. Am I the a-hole for deviating from my niece and nephew's routine while we watch them, instead of speaking to my sister-in-law because I thought it was unfair? Our niece and nephews, 11 male, 9 female, and 8 male, were going to stay with us for a week while my husband's sister and her husband went to a wedding out of state and made a vacation out of it. Sister-in-law's always gotten parenting inspiration from celebrities and online blogs. The first clue something was off was when our niece came to us and told us that our son, 14 male, wasn't giving her his Switch to play first. I explained to her that the Switch is his, so she had to ask nicely for a turn, and it was up to him to share. When it was time for the 8 and 9-year-olds' bath time, I told them to get ready for their baths when our niece shouted, "I'm first," and went to get her stuff. At bedtime, I asked them what story they wanted to read, and again, it was our niece that answered. The following day, they wanted to watch a show and I told them to agree on one. Our niece went, we're watching the show. I told her that she needed to talk to her brothers to find something all 3 of them agree on. Her response was, boys always pick everything. So, I took that to mean that her brothers often pick and let her put on the show. When it was dinner time, my husband called everyone to the kitchen and was plating food up for the kids on a first-come, first-served basis. Our son got in there first, and our niece told him that he needed to wait, because she and Auntie go first because girls go first. My husband explained that at dinner time, dinner is served as you get in the kitchen or take turns so no one goes first all the time. Bath time and bedtime story was the same thing. She wanted to go first and pick first, so I told her since she got to go first with both the night prior, one of her brothers got to go first that night. She said that she was supposed to go first because girls first, and that's how their parents do it. Here's where I may be the a-hole. I explained to her that in our house we share and we take turns. That's how things went for the next 2 days, until their parents called and she told my sister-in-law that we weren't following the rules. I talked to sister-in-law, and she was upset that I changed the kids' routine without talking to her about it first, because she was just trying to provide an environment for her daughter where she would take precedence. I told sister-in-law she never mentioned these rules and routines when she asked us to keep the kids. And even if she had, I wouldn't have agreed to them since they would, and have, impacted my own child. I also told her she's not providing an environment to make her daughter feel valued and special. She's raising her to be entitled and being unfair to her sons. The following day, my husband's parents showed up to pick up the kids. And since then, his relationship with his sister has been strained. Am I the a-hole for deviating from their routine instead of bringing it up to my sister-in-law first? Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law is sexist and is raising your niece to be sexist as well. At least hopefully the nephews will remember which family they can turn to when they go no contact in high school. Not the a-hole. This has nothing to do with celebrity-style parenting. It's just good old-fashioned favoritism. Not the a-hole. Yikes. That's a crazy way to raise a daughter. Your sister-in-law isn't doing her any favors. She'll be shocked when she enters the world as an adult and realizes nobody cares about her rules/opinions. Not just the daughter. What a crazy way to raise their sons. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Her thought process makes no sense. It's fine to make sure your daughter knows she's valued and special. It's definitely not okay to teach her that because she's a girl, she'll always get to be first or always get her way. You're correct. She's just teaching her to be an entitled brat. I don't know. Some people overcorrect. You'd be surprised at how many women have grown up in houses where they were second-class citizens. Doesn't make the sister correct, but I can see how it came about, especially in certain cultures and corners of the world. The problem with that culture is that there are first- and second-class citizens at all, not who the second-class citizens are. Am I the a-hole for buying my boyfriend flowers after he mentioned most men only get them when they die? Plus updates. Original post. Okay, so my boyfriend, 22 male, and I, 21 female, have been together for about 5 months, and it has been good so far. But about a week ago, when I was at his apartment, he told me that most men only receive flowers when they're dead. He then went on a bit of a rant about women not caring as much as men when it comes to their partners, and said that men want shows of affection too. I honestly took this all as a hint that he wanted flowers. So yesterday, I went to Whole Foods and picked out all the flowers I thought he would like, and put together a big bouquet for him. I also got him a coffee, some chocolates, and a few other things I thought he would like. I've done things like this before, but without the flowers. I usually put a Game Pass gift card or Lego set, etc. I feel like this is important because I don't want anyone to think I don't show him affection or get him gifts. I definitely do. So I show up at his apartment with literally the biggest smile. I was so excited for his reaction, but when I gave him the flowers, he got a super uncomfortable look on his face and wouldn't touch or kiss me at all. I asked him what was wrong and if he liked the flowers, and he just kind of blew up at me, saying that flowers are only for apologizing, and that if I cheated on him, I needed to tell him right now. I was shocked and started crying, because I have never and would never cheat on anyone. He took the flowers to the kitchen and threw them in the trash, which honestly felt like a huge punch in the gut. He told me to get out of his apartment, and that he didn't have time for cheating bitches. His words. Every time I tried to explain, he said he didn't want my excuses, and that when I'm ready to tell him who the man is, then I can talk to him. But there is no man. I didn't cheat on him. I just thought he wanted flowers. I've never thought of flowers as just an apology. He's never gotten them for me, but I just thought he didn't like showing love that way, so I buy them for myself every week. I'm just so confused and hurt by his reaction, and I don't know what to do to fix the situation. So, am I the a-hole for buying him flowers? Do women really only buy flowers as an apology? I'm so confused. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. The hell? This dude is a major a-hole for sure. Certainly not the a-hole. I'd be over the moon to receive flowers. And this dude certainly sounded like he was asking for flowers without asking for them. Your boyfriend is just a total jerk for sure and showing his true colors. He probably wanted to vent about how women have it so much better than men, and picked the one thing he thought he would never receive as a man, as his example of women having the good life while men suffer. When she showed up with her gift, she took away his ability to rant, so he jumped into saying she cheated. He just wanted to rant and insult her. How dare she show up with a thoughtful gift, rather than apologize for being a woman who uses men. Not the a-hole. There is literally zero possibility of anyone being the a-hole in this situation except him. The way he spoke to you is a warning about who he really is. Listen to it. Dump that loser. He very obviously is a not very covert misogynist and blames women for self-induced pitfalls. Yes, listen to him telling you who he is. It's only been a few months. Get out now before you get more attached. Be prepared to block him everywhere. He may be unhinged enough to harass you. And whatever he says, do not take him back. It will show him you can be manipulated and will only encourage him to be bolder in introducing abusive behaviors. It seems he was only ranting about that as some rhetoric that tries to prove men are just as oppressed as women. When actually faced with what he supposedly was arguing for, he got uncomfortable because it isn't actually an issue he believes in. Sounds like he's leaning further from you ideologically. That's why I broke up with my ex. He started saying stuff like, bring back manly men, and I knew it was over. That's what I think too. He never actually wanted the flowers. He wanted to prove he was being shorted by women. And when I got him what he wanted, he threw it back in my face because he wanted to prove a point, and me getting him flowers messed that up. Mini update. I'm completely overwhelmed by the responses, and everyone is making me realize that he's not worth my time at all. I tried to do something nice for him and he threw it back in my face. I texted him and told him we need to talk, and his response was, finally ready to confess, or what? So that tells me he's done no critical thinking on his end about the situation. We are meeting for lunch tomorrow, and I will update everyone after. Thank you everyone for the kind replies, and for opening my eyes to what an a-hole this guy is. I'm just glad I didn't waste years of my time. I want to clarify a few things about my post. His parents gift each other flowers regularly, so he has seen flowers given to a partner for reasons other than cheating. His mother gifted him flowers for his college graduation, so he has received flowers previously, and this is not the first time. Also, I have had a few people tell me it's weird of me to gift him things like the Lego sets I mentioned in my post. He told me at the beginning of our relationship that his love language is gift-giving, and he loves receiving gifts. That is why I do it. I did not think it would come across as weird in any way. I only spend around $50 each time, which is nothing for me as I have a well-paying job. I was in a relationship for 2 years previously, and I gave my partner monthly gifts throughout the entire relationship, so I'm in no way trying to love bomb him. I just always want my partner to know they are loved and appreciated. Mini update 2. Everyone. His mother is asking if she can call me. What should I do? His mother loves me and is honestly an angel. I don't know what he's told her about this situation. Should I be worried? I'm sorry for updating so many times. There's just a lot happening. I'm going to take Reddit's advice and take the call from his mother. I don't think she means any harm in calling me, but if it gets hostile at all, I will hang up. I am also considering canceling lunch tomorrow, but it partially depends on how this phone call goes. I've also had someone suggest just sending them both the link to this post, which I am considering. Everyone's opinions on that would be appreciated. I told his mother she can call me this evening, so I will update after that as well. Now for the full update. Alright guys, this isn't the update any of you were expecting, or maybe it is, and it's definitely not the one I was expecting to give. But his mom called me, and it was both him and his mom on the phone. I pretty quickly told them I wasn't willing to talk to both of them, but my ex-boyfriend was crying. Like, crying actual tears. So I listened. His mom told me he had been talking to her about us, and she wants him to talk to me with her support so he can tell me everything. He started by telling me how he hasn't felt like I'm what he wants in a woman. I'm not willing to move in with him yet, and he's someone who only wants to date for 6 months before getting engaged, which he had not told me before, so this surprised me. This would mean he wants to be engaged next month, which is way too soon for me. He also told me that he has trauma around cheating, because his high school girlfriend cheated on him in junior year. And you guessed it, apologized with a rose. Then he told me that he wants someone who is less career-focused and someone who wants to have kids and not work. He said he thinks some of my ideals and morals are skewed, but wouldn't tell me which ones or what he meant. He also told me he's realized I am a radical feminist, which I think is extreme. While yes, I consider myself a feminist, I don't hate men or think they are all bad. I've never talked badly about them to him and have really given him no reason to think this, aside from being pro-choice. He said he can't date someone who doesn't respect him and emasculates him. He said the flowers I gave him showed him that I viewed him as feminine and also showed that I was cheating. I told him again that I was not and had never cheated on him and asked if he had cheated on me before. He was quiet for, I kid you not, a full 2 minutes and then asked me to define cheating. I asked if he had slept with someone else and he said no. I asked why he mentioned the flowers if he thought flowers were emasculating, and he said it was more about the fact that men are treated, and I quote, more as slaves than human in our society. He said it was less about him wanting flowers and more about him feeling like women aren't owed flowers. That was enough explanation on where he was coming from for me. I told him our relationship was clearly over and we don't share the same ideals. He said he was willing to work on it if I would make changes to become wife material. I said no and hung up. So yeah, lunch is definitely canceled and we're not together anymore. His mom didn't really say much other than that she would miss me and would always care about me. I know it all seems like it was for the best, but I'm heartbroken. I didn't expect our relationship to end like this. He knew I wanted to work on my career, wait to have kids, etc., and always said he was fine with it. So it seems like he changed all of his expectations suddenly. I've been nonstop crying since the call, and I don't know what to think. I feel so stupid for not seeing that he was like this sooner, and I just wish I never dated him. But I hope that gives some closure to everyone, and I appreciate everyone's help and kind words. Thank you, everyone. Just read the update. I know it's rough, but wow, consider yourself lucky. This guy is cheating in some way, if it took him so long to respond. No one turns on a dime like he just did. You're both so young. Getting married after 6 months at your age is crazy. He has a lot of growing up to do, and his mommy knows that. You will be just fine. I'm just glad our relationship ended when he started expressing these views. I'd rather that than him hide it from me. He's going to abuse the heck out of whoever is dumb enough to marry him. I mean, the relationship certainly died, so I guess the flowers were appropriate regardless. She should have shoved them up his behind though. She'll know for next time, though hopefully she'll find someone who is emotionally stable and there won't be a next time. Next story, update. Am I the a-hole for yelling at my wife when she didn't back me up after our friend almost pushed me into a pool? Original post. I, 34 male, have never been a strong swimmer. I can tread water if needed, but I generally avoid swimming when possible. This is something my wife Anna, 32 female, knows and has always respected. Last weekend, we were at a barbecue at our friends Dave and Sarah's house. They have a nice backyard pool, and most people were planning to swim. I politely declined when everyone started changing into swimwear, saying I'd just hang out poolside. My wife went swimming with the others while I enjoyed watching from a safe distance. After about an hour, my friend Dave started insisting I join them. I kept saying no, explaining I wasn't comfortable swimming. He laughed it off and said, "Come on, don't be boring." I continued to refuse, getting increasingly uncomfortable with his pressuring. Things escalated when Dave started approaching me with this mischievous grin saying, "Sometimes you just need a little push." He actually grabbed my arm and started pulling me toward the pool. I panicked and pulled away, nearly falling in the process. I was genuinely frightened and shouted for him to stop. What upset me most was that my wife was right there watching this happen and said nothing. She was laughing along with everyone else like it was just a joke. I felt completely betrayed that she didn't step in when she knows how uncomfortable I am with swimming. After we got home, I confronted her. I'll admit I raised my voice significantly. I said something like, "How could you just stand there while Dave was trying to force me into the pool? You know I hate swimming. You're supposed to have my back." She got defensive and said I was overreacting and that Dave was just having fun. This made me even angrier, and I ended up sleeping on the couch. The next day, she told me I embarrassed her by making a scene and then yelling at her afterward. Now she's saying I should apologize to her and to Dave for ruining the vibe at the party. I don't think I'm wrong for expecting my wife to stand up for me, but maybe I shouldn't have yelled. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Your wife and Dave are ridiculous little punks. Sounds like none of them left middle school. I'm sorry your wife doesn't have your back. She is more concerned about what her friends think than your comfort and safety. Is this a pattern? Not the a-hole, and Dave is not your friend. Feeling safe and respected isn't optional in a relationship. He deserved backup, not betrayal. It's not even the pool. It's about her leaving you hanging. When my mom was a little girl, her brother rowed her away from shore, Lake Michigan, and threw her in. Told her to sink or swim, thinking it was the best way to teach her. My grandpa was able to rescue her before she drowned. Until the day she died, she hated water so much that she wouldn't even get her face wet under the shower spray. Your fear is real, and it is nobody's business, nor is it their right to force you into water or ridicule you about it. Is your wife afraid of spiders? If so, get a tarantula and put it in a see-through container. Then put it on the pillow next to her head so she sees it first thing in the morning. Tell her it's been there all night. When she screams at you, tell her she's being silly, that nothing would probably have happened to her if it got out. Then ask her if she understands yet. Now for the update. It's been a few days since my original post, and I wanted to give an update on the situation with my wife and Dave. First, I want to thank everyone for their comments and insights. I'm sorry I don't have time to respond to each comment. I also appreciate the Redditors saying that I'm weak or should start standing up for myself. Not gonna lie, maybe there's some truth in that. However, reading the different perspectives helped me reflect on the situation more clearly. After taking some time to cool down, I decided to have a proper conversation with my wife. We sat down after dinner, and I made sure to approach the topic calmly. I started by apologizing for yelling at her. I explained that while I was hurt by her not stepping in, my reaction wasn't constructive and I shouldn't have raised my voice. Anna listened and then opened up. She admitted she hadn't realized how genuinely frightened I was in the moment. She thought I was just being stubborn about swimming, and that Dave was trying to lighten the mood. She said she could see now how his actions crossed a line, and she apologized for not supporting me when I needed her. We had a deeper conversation about boundaries and how important it is to back each other up in social situations. She promised to be more attentive to situations that make me uncomfortable, and I promised to communicate my feelings before they escalate to shouting. It was actually a really productive conversation that brought us closer. As for Dave, he called me the other day. I thought he might be calling to apologize, but that's not what happened. Instead, he asked why I was being so weird about the pool incident and said everyone was just trying to have fun. When I tried explaining how his actions made me feel unsafe, he dismissed it and said I needed to lighten up and learn to take a joke. I kept my cool and told him firmly that trying to force someone into water when they've repeatedly said no isn't a joke. It's disrespectful and potentially dangerous. He scoffed and changed the subject to some upcoming basketball game. My wife and I have decided to take a break from hanging out with Dave for a while. Anna completely supports this decision, now that she understands how serious this was for me. We're planning to spend more time with friends who respect boundaries instead. I'm relieved that my wife and I are on the same page now, even if Dave still doesn't get it. Sometimes you realize which relationships are worth putting the work into, and which ones might need to be reconsidered. Well done on actually talking with your wife about it. But Dave? Screw Dave. Dave isn't a friend. Friends listen when asked to do so and try to understand each other out of respect. Great update! I am so glad you didn't listen to some of the weirdos on your original post. Haha. Dave, as I said then, sounds like he sucks. One of those really juvenile people who all years later still thinks the best laugh you can possibly have is putting a bug in the face of someone who's afraid of bugs. To say nothing of the fact that pushing to someone who is afraid of water and can't swim towards water is obviously way more dangerous than that. The fact that he can't even bring himself to apologize when you're saying you were upset, just switching the subject to avoid even a second of self-reflection, really indicates what his maturity level is. Taking a break from him honestly sounds like a good idea.